So let's get started here. So first of all, thank you all for joining us today. We are really excited to share some of these innovations that we've been working through using AI and how it can really forward your research and forward teaching and learning. We're going to cover best practices, which is the root of the presentation, and then how to use these features to do thematic analysis. So, some of you reached out prior to this webinar with questions and concerns about AI. Obviously, we'd like to stress that AI is just a tool that processes a heck of a lot of data and is used for teaching and learning. And we are going to emphasize very strongly that the human analyst is the central person. Everything that comes out has to be read, not necessarily for hallucinations, but you have to have a sense of, do these codes make sense? Do these themes make sense? Do the descriptions make sense? So we're going to really emphasize that throughout. So there's three broad use cases in academia. If you're using it for B2B or nonprofit, we're happy to have those conversations too, and your use cases. But for this presentation, we'll talk about the academic cases. And so first of all, what AI technology is available for qualitative research? Really, everyone needs to know what the technology is available right now. So things are only growing and growing and growing faster and faster, and we don't want to get left behind. So I really appreciate everyone taking some time to say what is actually happening right now. So everyone needs to know this, whether you're a learner, a teacher, or a researcher. Secondly, time, right? So many programs and courses don't have the time to go deeply into this whole arc of qual research. The AI functionality that we have can quickly really introduce and reinforce thematic analysis concepts. So for teaching and learning, it's very helpful. Accuracy and comprehension. Here we're really moving into the researcher components of it. Human analysts can easily overlook critical passages buried. Let me start that again. Human analysts can easily overlook critical patterns buried in passages. Okay, the overwhelming amount of data and the complexities of these narratives create significant challenges for data coding, especially for minimally trained coders. The AI tools can minimize the risk by systematically scanning and coding the text, which I will show you, ensuring that significant data is not missed, because it's easy to miss things when you're looking at 300 pages. Additionally, AI can uncover patterns and themes that might provide a better and a broader perspective of the data than you could have otherwise. AI cannot be overwhelmed by too much information. In fact, the more information, the more accurate it is. Okay. And mitigating bias, again, this falls more into the researcher bucket. Human biases can influence the coding and thematic processes. We're all biased humans, potentially skewing the results in unintended ways. Human analysts use their cognitive concepts to interpret ambiguities with narratives, often without awareness of the imposition of the meaning. Training human analysts is another variable that brings in biases into the qualitative analyses. So whether the research associates are novices or experts, their analytic capabilities are biased by their cognitive frameworks. AI algorithms, conversely, are really designed to be impartial and can help mitigate these biases by providing consistent and objective analysis of the data. All right. So one of the things that we came across very early on was that how is data actually entered into any tool? Okay? And the typical way in an interview, for example, is that the whole interview, so I have interviewee number one, interviewee number two, and so forth, and I'm entering in that data in that fashion. And that's just fine. But I just want to present two other ways that folks have entered in their data. One was by interviewer question. So I have 10 interviewer questions and 20 participants. So I take just interview question 1 response for interviewee 1, interviewee 2, and so forth. So all I'm entering in is only the responses by interviewer question. That's going to lead to very narrow focus. You're not going to have any kind of commingling of later on kind of responses. Analogously, you can enter in things just by research question or studying. This also is going to narrow those codes in any generation to just those research questions, right? So you definitely know, hey, gosh, these are the responses related to these research questions. These were the interviewer questions related to that research question, and here are the responses. And that's all that's going in. But again, there's no kind of interconnected focus here. And you can play around with different options. So, the interview, as the best practice, I would say that just put it in by interviewee is absolutely fine. But just know that there's other ways of approaching that data entry method. Okay, so here was the best practice protocol, and this is what I'll demonstrate in very short order. So there's really kind of 9 general steps that we recommend as the best practice protocol. So the first is obviously upload data. You have to get the data in, or you can have Intellectus Qualitative transcribe your audio or video files. So that's getting the data in. I'll say with the uploading of the data that you should also upload your research questions and purpose statement at that same time. So both the narrative interviews as well as your research questions, which will be used in a bit, and your purpose statement. So that data should be uploaded. Okay. Second, we should read and reread the qualitative data. This is not something, and we could have made it this way, where you just click buttons and you go from start to finish. That's not what the intention is here. So to know if a code or code description is good, you have to have a sense of that data. Does that excerpt go and make sense to go with that code? So you really do have to know pretty intimately what your data is all about. And you can do that by reading and rereading. So that process has not changed at all. Well, now we start kicking into gear with AI. So we have several ways of getting codes, okay, or tying codes to excerpts. One is by inductive auto-coding. So what we've created is that just by looking at your interviews, the tool will discern the most important patterns in your data. Okay. Then it's going to name those excerpts with a code, okay, and then describe that code. Okay. We also have a deductive, but for the purposes of this general protocol, let's just stay with the inductive. That is, I have no codes, I've not excerpted anything. That inductive auto-coding gets us there. The next step is really the refining of those excerpts. These excerpts fit or don't fit. The code name works or not. The description of the code works or not. So that process has to happen. That's where that reading and rereading is going to really make sense. So you're really combining forces to get you smarter about doing the analysis by getting some quick sense of which the important patterns and naming and describing those. I will also show that or point out that you can have some other hybrid modes or manual modes. So this isn't the only way to do it, but in terms of best practice protocol for AI, read through that. Next is generating the themes by conducting auto-thematizing. Now, this is a very interesting process that we use statistical analysis as well as AI to discern what is the appropriate number of themes for a specific number of codes. That's a question in and of itself. And you can override the system by saying, I want 3 themes or 5 themes, but the tool is designed, and the best practice is to let the statistical analysis and the AI discern the appropriate number of themes for those codes. That's part A. The second part of that is, okay, great. Now let's name those themes and describe those themes, and then bucket those appropriate codes with those themes together. Next, we're going to refine those themes and descriptions, and then the codes within each of those themes. So just like we did with the inductive auto coding, for the auto thematizing, that vetting has to happen. After that process, now we start to wrap things up, because typically people aren't just doing interviews just for the fun of it and saying how many codes and themes. We're trying to answer and solve problems. What problems are we solving? Well, we're solving the problems of we want to examine particular research questions. So what we've added is a research question theme alignment. So what we've done is in a separate portion of this, we have this functionality that will tie your particular themes to your research question, and then provide the rationale for why that theme and that research question go together. So, and then there's a refinement process there, and then download the analysis. So in a nutshell, we're uploading data and research questions, reading, auto coding and examining, auto thematizing and examining, research question theme alignment and examining, and then downloading. So that is the arc of what I will show you in a moment. Okay, let's get to it. All right, so the tool is web-based. It's held on Amazon servers. We can send you security protocols. It's secure when it's stable and sitting. It's secure and when it's in transit. None of the data with our APIs are used for training. So just to kind of cover some of that basic safety framework. And that's our safety framework when we're using multiple LLMs, dependent upon the task at hand. So we've really taken a very scalpel approach to how we're implementing these LLMs or large language models. So the first thing we should do is just create the project. Okay, so we'll name the project. Okay, overview. Okay. And now I want to put in the purpose statement. Okay, Control C. All right, Control B. So there's our purpose statement. Let's make sure that that's right. Okay, and then we're going to add the research questions. This is one question is about the experience of folks with digestive disorders. And then the next research question, get this in there. So the first question is, what are the experiences of people with digestive disorders, A, and then second, or B, how do people with digestive disorders cope with them? Okay, and submit that. All righty, next thing we want to do is upload data text files. And I'm going to go to qualitative deductive autocoding, and I will select two transcripts. Oops. See if that works. Okay, here's Brett and Sarah. And close that. So here we have our 2 transcripts, and they're about 15 pages each, just to kind of give you some idea there. All right, and then presumably you've now read through these. a couple of times and really have a sense of, the questions and responses. Okay, let's get to the inductive auto coding. So here, I'll go to the AI tool, and here's inductive auto coding. Inductive coding is an exploratory method that allows codes and supporting excerpts to emerge from the data through an analysis of the content. So we'll go ahead and click that. So on average, these things take about 1 minute and 11 seconds. We live in a world where we want instantaneous results. It is not instantaneous, so it does take a minute or two, but it doesn't take too much longer than that, even with hundreds of pages. So it doesn't. It's not a linear relationship between the time of processing and the amount of text. Okay, and it is scanning through. Well, it's doing a few things. So one, it's scanning through, looking for those patterns, grabbing those codes. There's another process going on where we're collapsing similar codes. So that's happening too. So we don't want a lot of similar codes that come out as separate codes. So there's a collapsing process going on there. And we've identified 6 codes with 78 excerpts. Okay. And I'll just apply those to the project. And from Brett, you can see some of what's been highlighted here. So the next part of that refinement would be to go into each of these codes and go into the details and look at the name that's suggested. Okay, diagnosis and treatment process. Look at the description. Okay. This is really a code, not a theme. And then look at some of the excerpts to see if those make sense with that code name. Now, sometimes it is too short of you may want more context. You could actually just jump to that code and say, well, really, I want more context, and just quickly modify that excerpt. So you'll go through those. All righty. Then we'll go to the next step, which is the auto thematizing. So here, automatic thematizing uses natural language processing to group the existing set of codes into themes based on similarity. Again, it does take a few minutes. Okay. So here, based on statistical analysis and based on our AI prompts and our LLM model, we've identified 3 unique themes: navigating health-related dietary needs, integrative pathways to health and well-being, and the medical journey. And then here are the codes for those. Okay? So I can apply those to the project. And you can see that the tool just quickly has the theme here. You can see a different icon and then the 3 codes underneath that. The next process would be to then go to the details. Okay. You can look at the suggested theme name, the suggested theme description. Here are the 3 codes that go in there. And then here are the excerpts that go with it, with the associated individual that stated that. Okay. Okay. So that gets us to the theme code connection with excerpts tied to it. By the way, while this is happening, the memos is kind of logging what's happening. We'll be adding to the log when that coding and thematizing happen. That's forthcoming. You can review your excerpts here and see the codes and themes that are related to it. And now let's just get to the excerpts. So this is the research question rationale. So I have 2 research questions. I can grab my first one, okay, and see which theme. Let's try the second one. Oh, use AI suggest. So here, the AI has found that these two themes go with that research question. I can submit that. So what we have is the research question: how do people with digestive disorders cope with them? Okay, and then here is a theme, right? Navigating health-related dietary needs, and then we have the rationale for why that theme goes with that research question. Okay. The theme of navigating health-related dietary needs is essential in understanding how people with digestive disorders cope with them. This theme sheds lights on the challenges individuals face in managing their dietary needs due to chronic health conditions and specific digestive problems. All right. So, and then we have a little description of the codes and the excerpts that went in there. All right. And then here is the second theme that goes with that research question and that rationale and excerpts by code there. You can also do a dive into the different themes. Okay, so if I want to look at medical journey and say, well, I'd like to see some representative excerpts related to that theme, you can quickly have your theme description, the codes associated with that theme, okay, and supporting excerpts. And then you can download all of this into an editable Word document. Let's see what's happening here. Okay, so here, and let's do this. Okay, great. And then here I have my insights document. Okay, so here's my rationale, research question rationale. And then here is my theme, kind of a drill down of my theme and codes and excerpts. And that's the start of it. So I think at the moment, so that's the over 9-step process. I will also highlight just quickly that we also have 20 lessons that can accompany the tool. It's comprehensive. It's competency based. So there's quizzes. Those quizzes go to grade books. Everything's put behind learning management systems. It's affordable. And then you can get into helping either upskill for faculty or to teach, and then dig into different aspects of qualitative analysis. So I think with that, let me just stop there for a minute and see what kind of questions we have. So do you have a clean date? Do you have to clean the data, for example, remove labels such as participant 1, 2, 3? I would say no. I would just leave it the way it is. The AI tools are pretty darn smart, so I think that's fine. I think you do want to label folks as we have here, so where are those excerpts coming from? So you want to know that what Sarah said and what Brett said, for example. And we'll have a code co-recurrence matrix forthcoming. So that's coming. On this example, what is the unit of analysis? The individuals? Correct. So these are individual interviews that they were asked the same interview questions. Hopefully that makes sense. I may have missed this in the presentation or not. I may have just overlooked it, but okay. How does the AI distinguish between the researcher's words and that of the participants? Well, it does a pretty good job based on our prompts to not pick up those, the interviewer questions. So that's one piece of it. The other piece of it is, at each step of the way, right? What's the rule of thumb? The rule of thumb is, hey, gosh, you should look at those responses, right? You need to look at those. Okay. Okay, keep going here. So can you generate tables based on the number of participants who said something related to each code? So yes, so we're getting, as I just mentioned, we are, as we speak, developing a code co-occurrence matrix. So we'll have codes on the rows, codes on the columns, part of my informal way of showing this, and then there'll be excerpts in the cells, and you can see which particular excerpts are related to perhaps two codes. So, and then you'll be able to drill into that to see who said what. I hope that answered your question. Is there any way to connect the codes and themes to relevant theory? Well, listen, if the research question, if you put in, and we haven't tried this, but if you put theory into the research question, there's no reason that those cannot be tied together. So Anonymous, get back to us. I'd be interested to see what happens there. That's a very reasonable, right? It doesn't know it's a research question. You can put that theory in there. Okay. Why were there only so few codes generated? Because the sample transcript was short? Yeah, I mean, you only had, 30 pages. And yes, we have generated, 60 codes. So yes. So would it generate more codes with longer transcripts? Absolutely. Okay. In your experience, how would one appropriately cite and discuss this tool and the methods in the manuscript? So the citation at the moment is the intellectus qualitative document. Okay. So that is the reference. I don't think that we're going to be getting into citing particular LLMs, citing any of that kind of business. So at the moment, I think just I would just be citing the tool, and then folks can look at the documentation. But I will say something though, that it does have to go into your methodologies, right? Be it students or researchers, it does have to go into IRB. We'll provide a FAQ on that about how to do what to put into those forms. So you're not kind of scratching your head and saying, well, what's the best way to do this? Does your program convert audio files to a transcription in a Word document? So yes. So what's happening there is when you're at transcripts and you go to add transcripts, I can upload, so I just went back to kind of the home page here a bit, and you can upload audio and video files. There's a 25 cents a minute fee, but it's with Amazon, and they do, cite 95% accuracy. You're going to have to read that, obviously, to make sure, but you're going to have a transcript here, okay? And okay, so, and then once you have that, then you can download that transcript. So you have Brett's document or that audio or video file that you have. So the short answer is yes. That was the long answer. Can the tool determine the percent of participants that responded to each code to ensure that one participant is responsible for a theme? Well, I think you mean that. Well, let's just take it what you said. Can you establish a threshold? You must include 50% of participants in the beginning. We don't do that. Again, that is the human analyst portion of it. You will be able to, in the details. Let me get to the code level. At the code level, we are, that might be a nice visual. So let me just share what I was talking about here. So for the themes, we have a visual of how the codes get involved there. And okay, so an amount of excerpts there. So a little visual there. I think what you're asking for, which we don't have yet, which is to provide a pie chart perhaps of the number of participants. Is it all Sarah, or what's the breakdown between Sarah and Brett in this document? So a lot of Sarah, maybe exclusively Sarah for this. Okay. Details. You know, how much is Sarah, how much is Brett? So that's an interesting comment. We don't have that yet. I think it's just manual of, I have, 12 excerpts. I have one Brett, I have two Bretts. One is, so 16% are Brett and 84% are Sarah, but we should be able to provide that for you. If we have longitudinal data, how does the AI tool help to do process analysis? We haven't looked at the longitudinal data. Again, interesting use case, anonymous. I don't think that we would do things programmatically, although Melissa, you may want to chime in. So I don't have a great response to that. It's an interesting question. I would be curious to see if there's others on this call that do have longitudinal data. It's obviously an important use case, how things changed, for sets of folks pre and post some intervention or over time. So I think it's important. And I think we just have to noodle on that a little bit.
Yeah, I'll get back to you too.
Yeah, but it is an interesting case because that's got to happen. Not everything is a cross-sectional one point in time. So I thank you for that. Which LLMs are behind the scene? And are these also secure and ethics approved? So all of our APIs are approved and secured. And we, I think that's a little secret sauce of saying, which ones we're using, different LLMs, because we've gone through the work of testing them and seeing which ones fit our requirements. Sorry. If you change a code or a theme manually, okay, how do you get the system to rerun the results? Not fully sure. So let's just say I've added a code. So let me just say I've added a code manually. Let's just say I use a hybrid version, right? I think this is an important passage. Okay, I can go to add code and AI assist. So a lot of folks just get stuck on the naming or coming up with a quick name and description. So for that passage, they're terrified, it does suggest a name and a description of that. So if you change them, you could, Melissa, do you want to handle that?
Yeah. Courtney, if you're talking about in maybe the insights document, where maybe you made some changes over on the transcripts tab of where the codes were assigned to themes or something like that, it's easy to go back to that document, just delete what you've done and rerun everything. It takes a few minutes.
Okay. I thank you. I hope that answers your question. Could AI generate frequencies, graphs, pie charts for the codes? So yeah, as I say, we'll have a code co-recurrence matrix. Anonymous, happy to look at any plots that you have. You can send those to Melissa at intellectus360.com, and I'll provide that at the end. But if you have, because we're definitely interested in what you find helpful with respect to graphs, frequencies, and pie charts. So please do that. Please send those. That'd be great. Then how does it know to determine the general code's themes? there has to be some pattern recognition that's pulling from what the database of information. I mean, that's the whole idea of this LLM. I mean, it's looking at, billions of parameters and deciding, based on our prompts. And those prompts are finicky. They have to be pretty darn precise to not get too much, not too little. It's like the three bears. It's a little black box-ish. So all I can say is we've done a lot of testing on those prompts, and the human needs to come in with knowledge of those transcripts and really look at stuff, right? So that's the default. And in reference to the question about manual changes to the code, does AI in the system learn from the type of user input? My answer would be no. Melissa, do you have a different response to that? Sorry, she's typing. The question about does the system learn? I think it's kind of dumb in some ways. So that's my.
This is not communicating back and forth with your specific prompts. So this is using our prompts. So you cannot train the system within here. So it's not going to learn from you changing the codes and trying to say find codes like this. It's not going to learn like that. What you can do is if you have specific codes that you want it to look for, you can do the deductive. So enter in your codes and descriptions, and then it can pull excerpts that are associated with that code.
And let me just show that. So here I have a code book, which has a let me just merge and center here. Oops, not cancel. Let me see here. Actually, just wrap text. So here, just wrap text. So here I have some codes with just descriptions and names. Okay, so that's my code book. So I can go through. Let me just do this. Hang on, sorry. Okay, so let me just create a project. Okay, overview 2. Okay, for the moment, let me just go ahead and upload those files, Brett and Sarah. Okay. Great. And then let me go ahead and upload that codebook, import that codebook. So here I just have 6 codes with descriptions, but no excerpts are assigned to it. I can then use my AI, and there's a lot of use cases for this that, hey, guess what? I'm looking for specific codes in my data, and really use the deductive coding, which is I have a theory about which codes are in there, and now what the tool, the AI, Intellectus AI is doing is going and looking for different excerpts to tie to those existing codes. Okay. And again, it takes a few seconds to do this, but I've talked to several people who've spent weeks going through their hundreds of pages. Excuse me. Here it's found 141 excerpts. Okay, tied to different codes. And again, that next process would be to go through, be it inductive or deductive, go through to make sure, hey gosh, these excerpts make sense given that code and description. Okay. And deductive coding can analyze which concepts from a theory are presented in the data. Not at this moment. It's an interesting question though, because you're getting to, it's doing this functionality, but how does it relate to theory? How does it relate to research questions? I think that I would play around with, and I haven't tested it, but I would play around with putting the theory as the research question, okay? And let it develop the rationale between the theory and the themes and excerpts, and let that play around with that. So I think that's an interesting thing. What about abduction? I'm not sure what that means. Send me the list to DC.
Got that one. It's good.
Okay, got it. Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. That's why I have two competent people here to help move me through this. Okay. Other questions or other things you would like to see? Let me go back to my interview overview one. Sarah's. Other questions? Good questions, by the way. Very good questions. I'll make the request while we're here. So the request of, we've showed you what we have going on. What do you want? What do you need? Send an example of a use case. Hey, you know what? For this particular thing, I needed to have theory involved, or I needed to, here's my longitudinal or pre-post interviews. This is the kind of things I was looking for. A comparison, for example, of those themes at pre and themes at post, or the same themes with different types of responses. So Melissa and Ashley have put in their contact information. Well, maybe I'll jump to that. Okay, so let me do this. And so put those use cases in there and say, here are the visuals that I have found really, really helpful. Or so we're totally open to that. A lot of this tool was developed with users like you saying what you wanted, and it's been really driving lots of innovation. So if you have use cases, pre-post, theory involved, if you have cases for different visuals that have helped you do your thematic analysis, that would be awesome. Okay. What does the product cost? I think we can we discuss that, Melissa?
Yep. So there's a few options. Straight from the website, the academic version is $59 a month. If you are a faculty and you want to use it, we have higher discounts. It's down to like $175 a year. And then if you want to take it on at the department level, the cost gets even lower. And Ashley's got her info in there and she can give you all of the options. So anybody that has questions about cost or anything like that, just please reach out to Ashley and she'll help you out.
And we're definitely willing and able to provide trials for you, trials of the tool, copies of the courseware. That's something. We're happy to give customized demonstrations. So happy to hop into a faculty meeting or you and a colleague and show you around a bit, even use with your own data. And then, as Melissa said, the prices get heavily discounted with department adoption. And so just to know that that's incredibly affordable. And the courseware is somewhere in the range of, for 20 lessons, somewhere in the range of $8 per student. So you can't even rent a book for that. And you get a PDF and you get all kinds of things. Okay. May I ask what your backgrounds are? No, anonymous. What is your, I'm sure. So I have a PhD in clinical psychology from Miami of Ohio. I did an APA internship at Butler University. I did a master's degree in experimental psychology at Cal State Long Beach. I have a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering. I have a minor in mathematics, a minor in human services. I've been consulting for 30 years and developing software with my team for 10. So there you have it. Okay. Other questions? Okay. So All righty, so let me go back to this. Okay, so let me go back to this from the current slide. So again, feel free to reach out to us for those demos, for those trials, for those overview sessions, and we'd be happy to send you everything. And again, really, my request is, well, two requests. One, share us what you need in terms of visuals, share what you need in terms of use cases, A. And the other request is, please share this with others. Everyone's typically in contact with others who couldn't make it. So please do share it with others in your department, different departments, and across institutions. Share with them. We really sought to have a tool that's helpful. Both this tool and Intellective Statistics, which also has some AI infused in it, seeks to make research simple and apply technology to help you do research in your discipline, whatever your discipline is. So that's what we're seeking to do. We do think that there is a nice opportunity here to do solid research with supportive tools and courses. Somebody subscribes to NVivo. Boo! We need some comparative information. Okay, I would have answered the question. Okay, so I'm being a little bit teasy, of course. So I can just say, we've developed this based on user feedback, really. And we have not peaked. I really don't look at other people's, systematically look at other people's tools. I say, what is the simple thing to do? What is necessary to go from a bunch of interviews to some thematic analysis? And how can I interact with that in a very streamlined fashion? That's what we've sought to do. And we have a very smart team that really takes your comments very seriously, and your use cases very seriously, and really just tries to streamline that process. We've tried not to clutter things up. We're not going to have 150 videos. You're going to have some videos about different aspects of it. So, our DNA of Intellectus 360 is simplicity and rigor. So that's what we've sought to do at every step of the way, be it with courseware, be it with tools, be it with training, be it with consulting. Okay. Thank you, Anonymous. If I'm a faculty member, cannot get my school. Okay, so somebody's answering that. Can I get my school to purchase it? How much is it for the whole year? Again, just go to the Intellectus Qualitative website, and you can get us going there, or contact Ashley or Melissa. Do you have a commercial for business? We do. So it's about 10x of what the student version is, roughly speaking. Have you thought about the data that comes from other notes, emails? We haven't really got there yet. I know there's other things to be had there. So I appreciate the comment. I think it needs to be taken in other kinds of documents and emails and Twitter feeds and other kinds of things. So at the moment, we're just kind of, taking care of the big rocks of folks doing kind of thematic analysis with interviews. But I think thank you, Anonymous. Other questions? All right, Melissa, are we good?
I think we're all set. We had a few people asking about the recording. We'll definitely send that out to everybody. If there are other people on here that need justification for getting access at your school, we're happy to help you with that too. I'm sure we're less expensive than what you're paying. Carlos had a quick question about hallucinations. So there's no way to limit hallucinations 100% when you're using AI, but we do have specific prompts that limit them. So you're not going to get the same amount of hallucinations as you would get if you just threw your data into chat or one of the LLMs.
That is true. And we spent a lot of time with that, figuring that out about how do you minimize that. Even if you ask, only give me what's been the excerpts that have been cited in your interviews. Nevertheless, somehow it can still hallucinate. But the way that we enter that data and then parse that really does minimize that. So perfect no-brainer to add this. We need this for our ED program. Bring it in.
A quick note too. A lot of you are entering in the Q&A as anonymous, so we cannot tie what you're saying to your email address to reach out. So if you've entered in as anonymous, please reach out to Ashley. We'll send the follow-up email. You'll have all of our contact information and just reply so we know who you are.
Right. Okay. And then let's just take another minute for any final questions, final thoughts. While you're thinking about that, I want to thank everyone for your attention. This is an exciting time to be a developer and to be a researcher. And this is just the beginning. When AGI comes out, that's going to be very fun. And I just look forward to, come on our team. We'll continue to innovate. We need your help and support to continue that by telling us what you want and need. And we'll seek to perfect that. So thank you all so much. Do share with others, do share with others, do share with others. So with that, I think I'll say have a great afternoon all. One other thing, last comment. There is a quantitative workshop coming up. So we have a quantitative tool, same DNA of simplicity. Keep an eye out for that and share your quant and qual webinars and overviews, workshops. Please keep those top of mind. So thank you all so much. It was my pleasure and my team's pleasure. Thank you.